Hello, this is Sudarshana Starshine Star. How are all of you doing? I hope this finds you very well. I know it's pretty challenging and every day seems to get more challenging with more astonishing events and news, etc. Before I say any more, I'm going to, like I always do, start this clip with the 3 opening prayers, which are short, and they're in Sanskrit and Telugu. They're to bless, protect, uplift, and sanctify you, me, and this clip. Okay, let's go. Om, Om, Om. Guru Brahma, Guru Vishnu, Guru Devo Maheshwara, Guru Sakshat Parabrahmam Tasmahi Sri Guruvena Namaha. Om Suklam Bhattaram Vishnum Sishivarnam Chatubhujam Prasanavaranam Dhyaye Sarva Vigno Prashantaye. Om Bhurbhuva Suvah Tat Savitur Varenyam Bhargo Devasya Dhimahi Dhiyo Yo Naha Prachodayat. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Well, today is Saturday, June 15th, and it's still 2024. I'm going to put this on my latest TikTok, my 3rd TikTok after the first 2 were banned, and I'm slowly rebuilding. My TikTok channel name is Mahakali Yeshua 9, or you can just type in the username is at Starshine Star and then put the number 9 at it. So at Starshine Star 9. I'm also going to put it on my main YouTube channel, which is called It's the Dazzling of the Light, or you can just type in at Sudarshana Starshine Star to access all of my clips there. I really ask that you like, share, hit the notification bell, subscribe, all that good stuff, depending on which platform you're watching this clip on. It really helps me to grow these channels, and I really appreciate you. So this is going to go under, I already put a bit ago on my socials, something that was called a preamble to the Controllers series. And this is going to be part 1 of the Controllers. It has kind of a mixed topic here. I'm going to do my best to bring these together. It came to me to put these together, so I'm just going to. You'll see when you'll either hear it in audio form on my TikTok, or you'll see the title, part 1 of the Controller series. And I wanted to keep the same image that showed some engineers working on with the whole back of a robot / humanoid zipped open. They were working on the mechanics, the robots of this man who you could see with the very human skin and body right over, but the back completely open to reveal that it was not anything but a machine. And that was from the 1930s, early 1940s, that photo. And I'm going to still kind of keep using it on my Controller series, but there's another photo I want to show that will be showing the latest edition of the U.S. Space Force. And I think it's important to look at that, especially when you're listening to this clip. So I'm going to be reading from, like I've stated in previous clips about myself, I stopped counting a few years ago after I reached over 20,000 hours of independent research. So it's much higher than that now, and I always continue to research. I don't only research, I always meditate and use my high divine consciousness, my Brahma consciousness, to help me to further and further and further refine and magnify my discernment. Because it's very tricky these days, yeah? It is, I know. But this is coming from Ariel on X. His username on X is at Proletaria1, which is spelled PROLOTARIO1 on X. And this is from June 12th, 2024. Okay, this is Ariel. Do you all understand what I'm getting at? Donald Trump was never supposed to acknowledge that we have a military branch operating off-planet. When he did that, he made them come out of the shadows. When he did that, he made them come out of the shadows. Do you know how many super soldiers were blowing the whistle on the SSP? Secret Space Program. I'm talking about way before D. Trump came onto the picture. This is why they do not want anyone from the National Guard moved to the, quote, the Space Force, end quote. Why? Checks and balances. How many of you have found the wildfires in California suspicious? How many of you have found the wildfires in Hawaii suspicious? How many of you have found the fires in Louisiana power line explosion suspicious? Guess who is behind all of that? The cabal, the deep state, the shadow government. Just because D. Trump announced the Space Force doesn't mean that we were out of the woods. We were just entering another deadly area of it. The fight to remove the cabal is taking place on land, air, sea, and space. D. Trump was not behind this specific design. And he's talking about, the latest design that just came out. That's very satanic. When they revealed the new logo, he was only supporting the official design. Have you noticed there are no pictures of him wearing this hat? All of his social media posts were of the other mainline design, the one that is actually on the Space Force flag. You will never see him wearing this obvious deep state hat because he knows they are in Space Force operating in the shadows. Which is why, again, all of the U.S. governors oppose D. Trump's idea to put the National Guard in the Space Force, because they would be the ones to find out what had really been going on. Especially all the wildfires that were in California and Maui, which goes directly back to the crooked elements of the Space Force that D. Trump is trying to use the National Guard to get rid of. Note, when there's a pic of the recent Space Force logo on a cap, which if you turn it upside down, clearly shows the Baphomet, one of the forms of Satan the evils and their minions worship. That was my note, but I'm going to show you the picture anyway. Okay, here's Ariel again. They didn't want the National Guard at the U.S. Capitol. They didn't want the National Guard at the Arizona border. They didn't want the National Guard in the U.S. Space Force. Ask yourself why. Who is afraid of the National Guard? This is why you all cannot keep listening to random viewpoints if it goes against your better judgment of what you personally understand. We are still in a war. We have not even switched over to the new monetary system yet, even though it is running in conjunction with the old one. The National Guard is feared for a reason by the deep state, which had infiltrated every industry. And that, when he says that, he means, listeners, the deep state had infiltrated every industry. Or the cabal, or what I call the evils and their minions. Donald Trump knows the National Guard will figure out what is going on. Why do you think Michael Flynn did not even acknowledge the testimony on Capitol Hill by Colonel Earl Matthews about January, and I can't say this date, so I'm going to say, think of the number that comes after 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and what's that number? January, that number. Okay? And he posted that on June 12th, 2024 from Earth on X. Now, for those of you that don't know, and I understand why it's so confusing, but Michael Flynn, the original, which I will call a 1.0, I call the originals 1.0, is not on the Earth. He was raised in a satanic family. He was a treacherous, treasonous, satanic evil. He is really responsible for really so much suffering and pain and death and a lot of things of the American people and around the world. He has been replaced by what's called a 2.0, a double face mask, actor. And I have had people that I know personally who were, I think, silly enough to go to those tours around America where people have to pay a lot of money to get a ticket to hear quote unquote patriots talk, and they saw the Michael Flynn 2.0 up close, like face to face, and it was not the original Michael Flynn. It didn't even act like it, didn't even look like it, etc. But that's not my only source. I have many sources, and I've studied a lot about what Michael Flynn really did, his very dark cyber control, the ops that he did, on the internet and infecting all and spying on all of Americans. And it's really too much to go into. I don't have the time on this clip, but the original is not around. Only the face mask double is around, Michael Flynn 2.0. And he never was a good guy. He never was good. But he was in the beginning. He was with Q, and he was posing as a white hat. But he was the one who was mainly responsible for, years ago, for shutting down the EBS coming out, for just stopping so many things that would have really helped Americans and people in the world to understand more clearly what is going on. Anyway, but I just wanted to give you that note. So continuing with Ariel, there's a woman on X who responded to Ariel's post, and she goes by the handle Miss American Pie on X. And so she says, so I found this in my archives, thoughts, and I'm going to read it to you. And this is from either 4chan, 8chan, 4kun, 8kun, from the boards. I don't know which one, it's not listed, from the internet sites where many of you know where the original Q began posting in October 2017. But for some years now, and Michael Flynn is directly responsible for this, it was infiltrated by Michael Flynn and his minions to make it look like it's a Q posting, but it's something called QAnon. Q is different from Anons. ANONS, it's short for anonymous, and that's what we the people are. And we're supporting the military operation that's helping to red pill us to give us the information about the alliance, the White Hat Global Alliance, cleaning up this America and this Earth realm of the evils and their minions. That's what the Q posts were about. We're teaching us to critically think again by asking us questions, and we did the research. But Michael Flynn infiltrated and made something called QAnon. There's no such thing as a QAnon. There's only Anons, and then there's Q. But he put a lot of misinformation in that. Anyway, so this is from Miss American Pie, and she's saying from the boards, like I mentioned, it's called, the title of it is Anonymous. It was from 4/4 in 2020, 859.56 ID ICCEDD, and then in parentheses 1, number 8683286. So there's the identification of that. And what Miss American Pie was sharing was, let's see. Here we go. Excuse me, got lost in my notes here. It says, and this is just a response, I'm reading it directly. It says, false. Adrenochrome allows them to see other dimensions when doing rituals. AYYS's from Orion, trade technology for humans and adrenochrome. 3M was one of the corporate suppliers, and they have underground facilities that are many miles long and wide. This is worse than you can imagine. But Space Force was created to watch over all branches except the National Guard. They have built structures in the formation of their constellation, the pyramids, Nazca lines, which is spelled Nazca, Nazca lines, DUMS, which is capital D, capital U, capital M, capital B, capital S, and that stands for Deep Underground Military Bases. DUMS in the USA, New York City World Trade Center, and if you don't know, the World Trade Center was where the Twin Towers went down. They're all Orion's belt layout. Space Force logo and NASA are the same, except for NASA had Orion and Space Force has Sirius. NASA had Orion and Space Force has Sirius. Okay. Now, then Ariel responds, well, I am not surprised to the connections to Space Force from Sirius, the dog star, which is connected to ancient African tribes, one of them being the Dogon, and that's spelled D-O-G-O-N, one of them being the Dogon tribe. Sirius A is 8.7 light years away from Earth and moving on a direct course toward our solar system. As for your other questions, the National Guard is a reserve component of the U.S. Army and Air Force, serving as a bridge between the military and civilian worlds. They're the ones you call when you need help with natural disasters, civil unrest, or any other domestic emergency that requires a bit of military muscle. So why can't the Space Force watch over the National Guard? Well, it's like asking a fish to ride a bicycle. They're just not designed for that purpose. The Space Force is all about space operations, while the National Guard is all about domestic support. It's like trying to fit a square peg in a round hole, and that's from June 12, 2024 on X. And then Miss American Pie responds right away to Ariel. Then the National Guard cannot, quote, watch over, end quote, the Space Force? And then Ariel replies with a laughing face emoji. That was the setup? Woman, please. How could they if they are on the ground? Why do you think the U.S. governors got together to outright oppose the National Guard to be, quote, hired, end quote, in the Space Force? The plan is to directly hire them into the Space Force, not watch them from the ground. Some of you really do be trying me. And then he put another laughing face emoji. And then he put an insert of an April 29th, 2024 article from Politics and Policy by author Jacob Knudsen. And the title of the article says, Most U.S. governors oppose moving some National Guard units to Space Force. Then Ariel responds in another text. Do you think a spacecraft is the only mode of transportation off planet? Nope. Richard Hoagland stated, along with others, about the jump gates, the portals on Earth, and other ways to go off planet. The Space Force doesn't necessarily imply they have moved past the firmament in the conventional sense. But DEW weapons, and that's capital D, capital E, capital W, and that stands for Directed Energy Weapons. And I'm saying like the ones that we saw in Maui most recently. But DEW weapons definitely suggest they are using space weaponry in many cases. And that text was from June 12, 2024 from Earth. All right. Let's see. I was going to include another subject in this, but it's going to go off on another tangent. It was relating back to that anonymous post where it was mentioning the adrenochrome production and usage. That leads into a whole huge topic. I think I'm going to do another controllers episode on that, though, and subtitle it, Save the Children, All Children Are Our Children, because that is a very huge reason why we're in this war, planetary-wide and off-planet, about what is done to our babies and children, even in the womb, much less when they're in the process of being born, much less when they were infants or small children or prepubescent. This is information that everyone needs to have. It is soul-crushing to know this. It takes a lot to hear this. You have to be strong. But if they can put up with it, and they did, we can hear it. We have to hear it. We need the correct knowledge. We need the awareness and the right truth in order to clean up what needs to be cleaned up. You cannot do it blindly. So no matter how hideous and horrible and soul-crushing and heartbreaking this information is, it has to be known. Because the alternative would be just to try to keep a little ignorant, happy, blind, head in the sand life, and these practices would still go on the earth to our babies, children, and also off planet, which is unacceptable, absolutely, and it's evil. It's the very definition of evil. So I'm going to end this clip now with the closing prayer. What I'm saying is, God bless all beings and all worlds. Om Loka Samasta Sukhino Bhavantu. Loka Samasta Sukhino Bhavantu. Loka Samasta Sukhino Bhavantu. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Yes, peace, peace, peace. Isn't that what we are all longing for? It starts with inner peace, but we will achieve it. We will have peace. Right now, we're still in a war. It's a necessary war. It has to be fought. But we're going into 1,000 years of peace and prosperity. We are. God bless you and yours. I'm sending all my love and big hugs to you and yours. Thank you for being here with me. Please remember to like, subscribe, hit hit the notification bell and share this clip. And I hope you have a beautiful rest of your day and your weekend. I will see you when I see you. Bye-bye for now.